The next thing I do here is install my decoder. I hot glue it into the roof, and I install my trolley pole bushings. Again, I run live overhead, so the bushings, the brass bushings, have to be wired in to take the pole and conduct the power. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and push these two brass bushings up. These holes are sized perfectly for the brass bushings that Bowser makes. You can get them from Custom Tracks for inexpensive. They're a couple of bucks per pair, or maybe $3 a pair, or something like that. Here's a little secret: I don't buy poles for every car I own. I just push them right in here. I don't keep all my cars on the layout at once, so I keep just enough poles to to keep my layout occupied. Alright, so what I need to do here is I need a heat sink, because if I solder onto these right now in the condition they're in, I will have a melted hole through my roof. So I will take and put some reverse tweezers here and clamp them onto the base of that piece right next to the roof to heat sink it and keep from melting right through. I'm going to put a little drop of the of this paste flux on here to make the solder stick. I'm going to go ahead and tin them. I can find what I did with my solder. There we go. Alright, so there's one tin. Leave the heat sink on there for a minute, the tweezers, and then move it to the next one. Alright, that one's tin. Make sure your solder doesn't close up the hole at the end of the bushing, because some trolley poles have a really long pivot on them. Alright, so leave your heat sink on there, because we're going to be soldering to this again. What I'm going to do, I use the red wire to the pole, so I'm going to set my decoder in roughly the spot where I'm going to have it permanently, right up against the window, almost. Now what I'm going to do is, with just a little bit of excess, I'm going to cut this off at the farthest from the decoder trolley pole bushing. I save my scraps because they're useful for hooking up other things later. What I need to do now is strip some wire right up here by the decoder. What I'm trying to do is very gently just peel the insulation back, so that I've got a little strip of bare wire right there, and twist it, tin it, alright, so that little spot is tinned. Now I'm going to go to the far end of the wire, strip it, and tin it also. These are going to both go to segments on, or the segments that I'm tinning here are going to the bushings. They're both going to be connected together. I don't use pole reverse because I have a decoder. It's not required. Alright, so wire's tinned and ready to go. Make sure I got my alignment all right. That one's perfect. And this one's a little long, but it's okay. I can coil the wire up. I put a little bend in the wire that I just tinned, so that it kind of wraps around the pole bushing. All right. First one. A little tug, make sure it's tight, not a bad joint. And move the heat sink over. Alright, now our two pole bushings are connected to our decoder. And I am now going to glue down the decoder with a little hot glue. So I'll lift it out of its pocket here, find my hot glue gun. Put a little blob of hot glue down, and then push my decoder down into it. And this stuff is semi-permanent. It's not going to go anywhere, but it will come off if I grab it with a pair of pliers and rip it out. So, yeah, if you have an issue with your decoder later on, it's not the end of the world. You can take it out of there. The hot glue doesn't really hurt it. I'm going to press my red wire down into the contour of the roof. I am not going to be using the purple or green wires on my decoder. Those are functions that I don't need. This is a 4-function decoder. I use a TCS CAM4, KAM4. It's a 4-function decoder. I only use 2 of them on most of my models. On like my Hollywood car, I made a light up destination sign that used one of the functions, which looked pretty cool. But the majority of them I don't use them. But I want the wires to be there still. I don't cut them off short because I might use them later. If I add some kind of an accessory down the road, I'll keep them in place for that. Now I'm going to try and keep everything neat and clean here. I'm going to try and keep from having wires that cross over one another. Part of my background in the Air Force was electronics, so you'll see me doing things that don't make a lot of sense in terms of speed, but look pretty later. Alright, so I've got these wires here. I'm going to just coil them up into a little bundle, the purple and green that I don't need. I'm going to coil them up into the roof and just put a little dab of hot glue on them just to hold them there. And if I ever need them later, they're there. And I just burnt the crap out of my finger with this hot glue. So, yeah, I'm trying not to cuss here and trying to keep this family friendly. Try not to push the hot glue tip into the model because it's got the potential to melt the model. So I've memorized already all of the different wires here. The orange and gray go to the motor. The white and yellow go to the front and rear headlights. The light blue goes to your trucks. That's the common. Or I'm sorry, no, the light blue goes to your headlights is the common, and your trucks are the black wire. Okay, so now that I have my excess wire put away, I've got to glue down my little pucks, I call them, for the LED lights. I just go in here and just put a little dab of glue to hold them right next to the decoder. Just want them out of the way so they're not bouncing around and in your way later. There's one. This one I'm going to coil up the wire and just put it out of the way down here at the far end. hot glue will hold that in place. Alright, now I'm going to pick up my phone here and give you guys a look at what I'm doing. I know it's hard to tell from there. So, there you have it. That's what I've done so far. I've connected the red wire, glued down the green and purple, and I've glued down the two little diode pack and resistor pack black puck things that are attached to those LED headlights. Alright. Okay, so moving on. This is the point where I connect the headlights to the decoder. And we'll come back and do that here in a minute.